is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, streaming on GuardianTalkRadio.com and the Guardian Radio app, Nassau, Bahamas. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of the management and staff of Guardian Radio.
Good morning and welcome to Guardian Radio A.M. Today is Wednesday? Wednesday, Aaron?
Thursday.
So what happened to Wednesday?
You know what happened to Wednesday? Me and you were supposed to go look for tamarind on Wednesday. That's why you forget Wednesday exists.
I skip a whole entire day?
Possibly.
Thursday.
Don't mind though, you was here yesterday.
May 20, 11 o'clock in the morning. And once again, this is CA Newry and I shall be your host for the day. Today we have two guests in studio. We have the Honorable Jim Lawler, who has the Order of Excellence, and we talk about his book, Signing Tonight, which is going to be happening at the Bahamas Historical Museum. We're excited to have him because he is Bahamian history royalty. His entire family does history, right? And is responsible for writing numerous books on Bahamian history. So we're kind of excited about him being here present. And we are talking about his new book that is going to be available, and he's going to do a lecture at the Bahamas Historical Museum. Also in studio, we have Miss Valdez Miller, who is from Our Lady's Church, which is going to have their fair and raffle this coming Saturday.
Yes.
And she's been on the show before, so we're kind of excited about her. She goes in detail about the great things that Our Lady's Church is doing, and I want to get more details about that. But what I'm going to do, Mr. Lawler, let me introduce you formally. Right? And then I'm going to quickly go back to Miss Miller so she can give her a rundown about her church fair. And then I'm going to interrogate you about your new book. Right?
Good.
So,
good morning.
Good morning. Pull the mic a little closer to you so we can hear you. Mr. Lawler, thank you very much for coming in studio. We're kind of excited to have you here. As I mentioned before, you are Bahamian history royalty. Your entire family writes about Bahamian history.
My father-in-law was Paul Olbrey. Mm-hmm. My daughter, Lisa, Dr. Lisa Lawler-Feller, teaches history at the university. Mm-hmm. And my wife, Anne, she helped me write this. We wrote history together, but she also lectured in linguistics and gave conference papers in linguistics with plenty of history inside it.
But between your family, entire family, it's about 10 books strong about Bahamian history, and what we as Bahamians use now to lift us up in an edifical book. A New History of the Bahamas is one of those books that you read and it's comprehensive. It goes in detail. It's easy to read, but it gives a comprehensive information about the Bahamas, and you have written it in sections where a person can appreciate the topic as you go in detail of it. And I was very impressed with that.
Some of it is chronological and some is thematic.
Yes. So we can talk further about that, but let's go to Miss Miller. Tell me about what's happening at Our Ladies.
Right. So this coming Saturday, May 31st, from 12 to 10, we're having our...
That's Saturday coming.
This Saturday. So 2 days away. This Saturday, we're at our annual church fair and raffle. Like I said, from 12 to 10. So we have some exciting activities happening on the day of the fair. We have, I can just go through the list of things that's going to be on the grounds. We have hot dog and popcorn, ice cream and snow cone, home cookery, chicken and fries, dart the balloon, bingo, grill, daiquiri, pastries, gallery and face painting, conch-line, hoopla, lucky pick, sodas and waters, sweet and treats, home guard, a fantastic kiddies corner that's going to have the kiddies train, bouncing houses. It's just a lot of activities, a lot of great stuff happening on Saturday.
Okay, so two things. What is conch line? You didn't say you're going to have a conch fritter booth. You didn't say you have a conch fritter store. You say you have in conch line.
Well, conch line is the place where you can find the best conch fritters in the line.
Listen, when you're calling it conch line, I thought he's going to have some stew conch in there and some, they call it conch balls, which is the bigger than the fritter.
Right.
Differently composed.
We got to work on the stew conch.
Conch salad, conch.
Conch.
So they usually have conch salad as well. You can find conch salad there as well. Sometimes there's crack conch, and that's why it historically got the name conch line, because it was the place where you could find crack conch.
And all the other things.
Yes,
okay.
all the other things. Yes.
Okay, hoopla. You having children hoopla and adult hoopla?
We have a great mix of hoopla. So there's a kiddies corner and then there's an adult hoopla as well. Yes.
'Cause
Because I think you're excited about hoopla.
The last hoopla I've been to, Mr. Newry, right? They let the children play at the adults hoopla, but they wouldn't let the adults play at the children hoopla. And look at this little girl fighting me for cleaning supplies. I was going to hoopla for cleaning supplies, buddy.
Miss Miller,
I love that.
Miss Miller, do I need to pay in advance to get in? How is that going?
No admission, free admission to enter the grounds. We are on East and DeVoe Street, so literally on
church grounds.
On the church grounds and on the main road, so you really can't miss us.
Okay, except I bougie and I from the east, right? And since they changed like Blue Hill Road and Market Street, I don't know where I am. Come on, a landmark, help me get there.
Great. So know if you are familiar with East Street and Wolf Road, and that is the intersection where Windsor, the famous Windsor Park is. Across from there, you have Island Lock. So if you are traveling, that would be traveling north, going towards Bay Street. And you're coming from East and Wolf Road, we are going to be, either you can take the second or the third corner, and you will find us on your left-hand side. You really, like I said, you can't miss the music. Coming that way. So the second corner would be Young Street. You can park through there. The third corner would be DeVoe Street. Now, to enter from, you won't be able to enter DeVoe Street from East Street. So I would suggest that you go Young Street, and you're going to go through the first corner on your right, come around the park.
Right. You have designated parking, or members of the community can be there. Whenever I go into communities, I look out, right, to see if there's somebody indicating to me, miss, you can't park there.
Well, I find that our community is not necessarily like that. And I say our community because there's definitely, I grew up in the neighborhood, so I don't think our community is like that. However, we do have designated parking as well.
Yeah, and I don't think your community is like that. I want to be respectful and not block. You could imagine I block Grammy in.
Yeah, don't block nobody in. No, let's not block nobody in, but you can definitely park on the side of the road. And like I said, we do have designated parking as well where you can park.
What about the raffle? I want to hear the prizes.
So the raffle is $2. I think it's still one of the least expensive raffles in town. And so this year on our raffle tickets, we have the first prize is a round trip for two, Caribbean cruise for two. And then we have a round trip ticket to Atlanta, a round trip ticket to New York, Orlando, Fort Lauderdale. We have 4 50-inch TVs, some vouchers, Super Value, John Bull.
Let me win.
It's worth it.
It's worth it. It is worth it. Trust me.
I said, let me win a 50-inch TV. Right? So
at least one could be yours.
That's $8 in tickets.
Yeah.
I'm trying to win all 4 Newry. The people in my house ain't gonna like me.
Yeah.
I put all 4 TVs up in my bedroom one time.
I don't blame you.
So
what time does the fair actually start? Because I remember one time you all had like a pre-fair at the Southson thing, and then
so we still have. So I'm glad you brought that up. We are still, the Men's Association is still having the South this year again. It's from 7 a.m. until 12 in our church hall.
Your fair start early, man.
Our fair starts early, so we're there all day. So you catch us for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Okay, so like if I was a wayward Catholic, I ain't been to church in a long time, I could come out at 7 in the morning, buy one South, and volunteer.
Yes. We'll take hours. We'll take that volunteer.
Look here, you all man them.
Yes.
Saturday morning. The wife wants you to do 17 things in the house. The children want to go everywhere. However, you have the excuse of the Lord this weekend.
Yes.
Get out early at 7. Tell them, I got to go volunteer for the church. Get your South, hang out, help them set up. And then call the wife and tell her, now you all come.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. And then after the South, the actual fair starts at 12. So you definitely hear the sounds of the DJ really before 12 o'clock, but all the stalls on the ground. From 12 p.m., we'll be ready to go.
Until,
I'd say about, we usually call the raffle about 10 p.m. A little after 10. So until then.
It's all day.
It is all day.
All day community affair.
So
all day community
let's
affair.
talk about the cookery side, right? Because I like buying my food in terms of I carry this set of food home and then this set of food I eat at the fair itself. Explain the difference for me, please. What all food you can have there?
Okay, so we have, like I said, we have chicken and fries.
That's fair food.
Yes, that's fair food.
I talk
Chicken and
about food
fries.
I carry
You want
home to my wife.
food. So food you're carrying home to your wife. Sorry, they're going to have. We have the Johnson behind the home cookery stall, and so they're making some good rice. There's chicken. There's fish.
There could be some peas and
there's
rice.
sides. I haven't talked to them about the
Where the
pizza.
Johnsons? These are Johnsons from Eleuthera?
No, these Johnsons from Andres.
Oh boy, the whole piece and grits.
So they have rice, they have chicken, they have fish. And then
Nice.
there's also grilled food as well. So there's grilled pork, grilled ribs, grilled chicken. And they have that with some macaroni. And I am biased when I say the grill is great because it's my family that's grilling.
Okay.
And it's some of the best macaroni you'll have in your life as
Hold on,
well.
you grilling you always grill the mac. Some people is make
No,
the
we ain't
macaroni
grilling the
and grill
macaroni
it.
now.
And it's be smoky, Newry. And then what you do is you take the coconut, right?
Uh-huh.
And you put the coconut in the grill, right? Y'all didn't know vegan rastas is eat smoked coconut to replace that crispy bacon kind of wild bacon. Anyway, the point is you're going to put the coconut in the grill
Right.
to smoke while smoking the macaroni.
Okay.
Okay. So where can I get the raffle tickets, or do I buy the raffle tickets out there?
So you can buy raffle tickets out there on Saturday. We do have a few that's left, not much. And then you also can purchase raffle tickets today and tomorrow at our church office, which is on Yonge Street. So when I was giving you the directions, that second corner on the left, you'll find our church office. And that's where you can purchase raffle tickets between today and tomorrow. And then on the grounds itself on Saturday.
Give me the church office number if you know it.
The church office number is 325-4521. Is that a trick question if I know it?
I was just checking to see. I just checking because I don't know my church office.
325-2541.
I have to Google that.
325-4521.
So you have the home cookery section, right? The Johnson
Yes.
family cooking all the food there,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Do I have to buy tickets in advance or I can go on that line?
No, you can just go on that line. There's no advance tickets for home cookery this year. And so you can just, once you go to the fair, the bank that's on the fairgrounds, they will give you the fair. We have fair. Well, most fairs or festivals or things that you go to, the stores don't really take cash. So you have one designated space where you change your cash for fair money, you call it. And so you go to our fair bank and you get your fair money, and they'll take your fair money from you.
All right. That's like festival money.
Festival money.
Festival money. So they take your fair money from
Is
you.
it one-to-one?
One-to-one.
I was making sure my money don't go to value.
No.
I open. Listen, you're going to church. They better the blessing.
Know the valuing of your money at all.
You know what? Love is something if you give it away, you end up having more. That's what I thought was happening.
I like fair exchange. So I just make sure I get my dollars right.
I like FAIR exchange.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so you got a kiddies corner.
Yes, we do.
Activities and amenities for the older folk.
So activities and amenities for the older folks, like I said, we do have, there's hoopla, there's lucky pick, there's punch board. And then, of course, you cannot have a fair without having bingo. So there's bingo, and bingo is where most people
that's the
they
thing.
gravitate to. That's the big thing about the
Listen,
fair.
Catholics are known for their bingo.
Catholics are known for their bingo.
Don't play on that's like playing spades in America. You don't play at the bingo table.
No, and you don't play with people in their bingo because they that's their seat and they ain't moving no more for the day, and that's them.
So there's good prizes at the bingo table?
There's great price at the bingo table.
Okay.
You're gonna be happy to spend your money with us.
I ain't played bingo in a minute.
I scared.
I mean, at the back of Fox, we used to play Pokino. But that's a whole different thing.
That's pure excitement.
We just have a special seat at bingo for you.
Okay, good. Good.
Yes, Mr. New.
I'm gonna play some bingo.
I need you to win me some things.
Yeah, I plan to go win
You're
something.
gonna have a used book or used goods stall. You're gonna have a plant stall.
So not this year. We don't have a used book or used thing stall. We were planning to do a white elephant, but unfortunately that books for next year. But we do have a home and garden stall
Yes.
this year.
nice.
Remind me of all
Yes.
the stalls you have there.
So sure, I'll remind you, I'll go through everything that we have. We have hot dogs and popcorn. So you have ice cream and snow cone, home cookery, chicken and fries, start the balloon, bingo, grill, daiquiri, pastries, gallery and face painting, hoopla, lucky pick, punch board, sodas and waters, comforters, sweets and treats, home and garden,
Okay.
and a kiddies corner.
And as we transition and go to commercial break, tell us about when, where, and everything again.
Sure. So that is this Saturday, May 31st, last Saturday in May, from 12 p.m. to 10 p.m. This is our ladies' annual fair and raffle on East and DeVoe Streets. You cannot miss us. We hope to see you there.
I see we have a caller. Let me get this caller first before you move.
No problem.
Okay. Go ahead, caller. Guardian Radio A.M.
Newry, can I ask your guest a question, please?
Go ahead, man.
Okay, lady, now I can tell you something Catholics are known for. Olden Goldie Night at St. Joseph. Y'all having any Olden Goldie Night?
Well, I I'll work on that for you. There's no olds and goldie night on Saturday, but I will definitely work on an oldie golden night for you, just for you. I'll have them work on that for you.
Wait, not me. If you know,
This boy say he ain't no oldie. He's just a goldie.
Mr. Newry, they put out Old and Goldie night down at St. Joseph in the big hall. Brother, have you ever seen much people dancing with a wheelchair, a walking stick, and walkers, and cast and thing in the middle of the floor, dancing to Bob Marley? Trust me, this is the best at Old and Goldie at St. Joseph.
The kind
Please bring them back before Christmas.
Good.
I'll make sure I speak to Monsignor Calmatana St. Joseph.
You thought I was joking. Activity, and you said they come in, they want to have a good time, they want to hang out and be a part of the church community.
I agree.
And before you go again, Ms. Miller, remind me, who's the rector?
The rector, Father Jonathan Duca.
I just want to give a big shout out to him before. You can't mention Our Ladies and don't.
And I mentioned, yes.
We're going to take a quick commercial break here. Thank you very much. I hope to see you again next
Just
week.
as you go, you're going to have the coconut tarts that the sisters make up at the nunnery.
We don't have coconut tarts the sisters make up, but we have some great coconut tart as well.
Okay.
Yes.
Good stuff. Now they come in for tart.
Now we got to go up there and invite the sisters to come down.
Yep.
Exactly.
Challenge, we're supposed to go for the tamarind Newry, so I could take the tamarind sauce before you put the sugar in it and mix it in the coconut mix. So you do a dual layer. You have coconut tart with tamarind infused in it.
Sound good.
I mean, I don't want to say challenge to the sisters because they may think I want to fight them.
Right.
But if it's a coconut tart fight, it's on.
Thank you very much. That's Ms. Valdez Miller, who normally tends to orchestrate the Our Ladies church fair and raffle.
Yes.
You have a whole entire team now, right?
Yes, I have a whole entire team.
Shout out to the team.
Shout out to all of my fantastic fair committee members and fundraising committee members. We could not do this without you. To all the stall holders, their families who will help their stalls, help them with their stalls on Saturday. Anybody who would have assisted in any way to make this fair a success on Saturday, I thank you so much, and may God give you blessings 10 times that you've given us.
Okay, that's Saturday, May 31st. Of course, they're starting at 12 to 10, but also they're having that South.
South at 7 a.m. You get chicken, pig feet, and stew turkey.
You only have rib sauce?
No rib sauce, but stew turkey. They have some stew turkey though.
I'll eat it. I mean, if it's hot, we can eat it. We ain't fussing.
This is Guardian Radio AM. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
There's 12 months of summer. All the sun, all the keys, all the skies, all the breeze, all the creeks. So tell me why. Tell me why. He made these islands.
Girl, Junior just showed me Bella Boy in his phone.
What you mean? He take picture of that good for nothing boy?
Shh, you don't want Bella hair. You say that. You know she always say that's my good child.
So what he doing in Junior phone?
Oh, he there because the police looking for him. He on that wanted list.
Wanted persons in your phone now?
Yes, child. And when police want to find anybody quick, after something happen, they can send picture direct to your phone. Go to Google Play or App Store and search for Crack Crime Bahamas. Then pick install and it will go straight to your phone.
There is also a section on missing persons.
Yes, girl. Everybody needs to get this app so police can tell us right away when these people go missing. Just like an alert system.
Yes, it has numbers for Crime Stoppers Bahamas, so you can call and nobody knows it's you. Call directly to Miami and give the information without giving your name or anything about you. I tried the other day, and where they hide those guns, I walk quick round the corner and call that number.
Call 328-8477 from Nassau or 242-300-8477 from the Family Islands.
Measles is on the rise around the world, and the Bahamas is at risk,
which makes us very vulnerable as a nation for the possible outbreak of measles cases.
Every Saturday in May from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., the Ministry of Health and Wellness will host MMR immunization visits in South Beach, Coconut Grove, Fox Hill, and Elizabeth Estates. Clinics in these areas will remain open until 8 p.m. twice per week. Get your child immunized now.
You try to rest, roll with the best. For all your printing needs, there ain't no one better, no. For posters and banners, magazines and flyers, for window decals, greeting cards and newsletters. No job too big and there's no job too small. You name it, we can print it, just give us a call. Let Print Masters bring your masterpiece to life.
Located in the Nassau Guardian Building, telephone 302-2361. Love the show? Want to give your support? Become a sponsor today. Call 302-2300 for our rates and packages. That's 302-2300. Become a sponsor on Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, streaming on GuardianTalkRadio.com and the Guardian Radio app, Nassau, Bahamas.
And welcome back to Guardian Radio A.M. Of course, I like history royalty in studio. We have Mr. Jim, the Honorable Mr. Jim Lawler, who just recently got the Order of Excellence from the government, recognizing him for his contribution to Bahamian history and recording and his teaching. In education and teaching, right? Everybody knows Jim Lawler. You just walking up through the hallways, people stop him and want to take pictures with him, right? But tonight, all roads leads to the Bahamas Historical Museum, where you'll be given a lecture on your book.
A talk with a PowerPoint.
Yes, presentation. Go ahead.
Yeah, talk about the book and PowerPoint to illustrate it.
Good. So we'll start from there. Where is the Bahamas Historical Museum?
It's right on the corner of Shirley Street and Elizabeth Avenue, kind of opposite the Dr. PMH.
Okay. So now, let's talk about the book. Right? Why did you decide to write this book? Because you've been pulling out books like crazy recently. It's like the second or third one in many days.
I've been involved in 7.
Go ahead.
And 27 articles on Bahamian history. Well, I guess it all started with my father-in-law, Paul Albury. He wrote the story of Bahamas and Paradise Island story. He sent me to the archives in 1982. And I just caught that virus that he had, his enthusiasm for history. And he wanted me to go to the archives and research and write the religion chapter of the Harbour Island story. Now, unfortunately, he couldn't, he didn't get to write it. He was still researching when he died. And later down, Anne had a sabbatical from the college, but it was too much for one person, so I assisted. So he also wanted me to take pictures for the Paradise Island story, and I was going around Paradise Island. I even took a picture of the lighthouse from a cruise ship, because Anne's uncle, Freddie Brown, was the harbour pilot. When he died, Anne kind of had the obsession to put another couple of chapters onto the story of the Bahamas, because it had been published in 1974, which is, of course, right after independence, and we wanted to do more. So we did a good bit of research on that, but never ever got to write it. My From Africa to the Bahamas book was very popular in 2021. And then I had the idea to write a history and memoir. That was my last book, The Bahamas History and Memoir. And when I finished that, I thought to myself, I've got 40-odd years of research on the computer, and I think I've got a new history of the Bahamas. And the guy asked me, why did he call it a new history? And of course, right off the top, it says, because I've just written it. But it actually came about because I thought, being a researcher, I researched for Paul, I researched for my wife, I researched for Arthur Haley, I researched for Sir Orville Turnquist. And I had a serious amount of information that were new insights into things that had been written about before. And so this book, A New History of the Bahamas, is actually combining old history. The front cover is a little boy asking his mommy, tell me old story, mama. So it was old history. And then the last chapter of the book is independence, creating a new national identity. I sort of got really interested in national identity from this book by Anthony Smith called National Identity. And he talks about, well, you need people to have looked at old story, history, culture, the past, and symbols of heraldry. And the last chapter of my book, I put in, the handing over the Constitution from Prince Charles to the Prime Minister, Pindlin, and the national flower, the lignum vitae, the pledge, the anthem, because that's very important for people to identify with the country. It's like national identity is kind of abstract, but it's something that we go for. It's like love is an abstract, good is an abstract saying. So national identity is abstract, but it's something that binds people together to be looking for it.
You mentioned national identity. Let me bait Aaron. What is the national food of the Bahamas?
We had this conversation on the way here.
We haven't designated a national food of the Bahamas.
We don't have it.
We haven't designated
We
one.
may be the only country that doesn't have a national dish.
Yeah.
And just speaking of Mr. Lawler, the need to have a national identity, right? And then he has commentary about that inside his book about what binds us together.
Mm-hmm. And is that has the process of forming these identities been different for the Bahamas in the post-colonial Caribbean diasporic space versus other Caribbean jurisdictions, right? Also post-colonial, also diasporic space, but single island, two islands, right? Like, because we were just talking about it, Andres people put coconut in everything.
Mm-hmm.
Right to the point where people would say, oh, are they Jamaican? What are they doing? But coconut is distinct in Andres culinary practice, right? You go further south, all the way down to Mayaguana. The coconut tart you can get from Mayaguana is totally different from the coconut tart you can get in Andres, right? And in Mayaguana, they put in the spices in it. They got clove and nutmeg and cinnamon in it. And so that process of... has it been difficult because we haven't reconciled with a process for an archipelagic state?
Commonality.
Yeah, there's several differences. The differences of all the different islands, of course, and then the difference between the white and the black people and the people in between is like a difficult. We got to maintain some of the British. We've got to continue with the African. Mm-hmm. And then, there's like the Filipinos and Haitians and Chinese and...
Jamaican influence. And,
yeah.
And the Trini and Jamaican influence is very strong, as well as the Haitian influence. And it's not a negative thing I'm talking about, right? It just is. The American influence is super strong.
Super strong.
And maybe stronger than all of the other, cultural additives to the space.
Correct.
One of the things I like about this particular book, as I was reading through it, right, you have the history of white Bahamians and the history of black Bahamians and the mixture of two.
Yes.
So this particular book has every aspect of the Bahamas in it, right, where every genre or every person will say, hey, this tells my tale. And then on top of that, you call names.
Yeah. You
call names like A.F. Adley. And this is the only book I see gives a complete narrative and an actual story of A.F. Adley and during trials. When a trial is inside there mentioned the death of
Sir Harry Oakes.
And I said, this book has Sir Harry Oakes mentioned, right? It mentions
there's a chapter, the murder of Sir Harry Oakes.
Right? And you mentioned World War I.
World War I.
And you go in detail about World War I, right? And go ahead.
The thing is that I did the 15 months of research for Sir Orville, who wanted to write a book about the Bahamas during the time of the Duke of Windsor. So my chapters 10, 11, and 12, the Bahamas prior and during the World War II, the Burma Road riot, and the murder of Sir Harry Oakes. I'd like to tell you about Churchill's double play. I think that people would be tickled pink that how this story came out. Prince Edward, King Edward as he was, abdicated, married Mrs. Simpson, and then he was exiled to France. In France, he was the liaison officer between the French army, the French forces and the British forces. But when the Germans invaded, he had to escape to Spain and then Portugal. He was courted by the Germans to maybe be a puppet king. What I kind of sort out in my head is whether these are just stories that the press, media put out, or whether they are actually true.
Yeah.
Anyway, Samuel Hoare, the ambassador in Portugal, wrote to Churchill, who's just taken over as Prime Minister June 1940, and says you've got to give a job to the Duke. At the same time, the governor here was Sir Charles Dundas. Now, Sir Charles Dundas had been a colonial secretary in East Africa from 1923, and part of his duties was to write a history of the German people in East Africa. I don't know if you know this, but East Africa colonies were German before 1914 World War, and then went to the British in 1919 after the war. So Churchill had the idea to send Dundas to East Africa, where he could get in touch or know about all these, the Germans were forming Nazi parties in East Africa. And so he wanted someone there who was au fait with German society. At the same time, he needed to do something with the Duke, so he brought him here to the Bahamas. And the good thing about that was that time was at the same time as in the Bahamas, the sponge had failed, the boat building was over, the fruit wasn't doing so well. Everything agricultural and shipping were failed. And so the idea was coming that we need to move into tourism. And actually the first year of the Duke of Windsor, it was good for tourists, but then when America was attacked by Japan, the tourists stopped coming. That was it. But after the war, the Bahamas, British Airways wanted to come to the two airports in the Bahamas because we'd built Windsor Field, Lyndon Midland Airport now, and there was a Harry Oakes Airport that had opened in 1940. We had two airports. So the idea of the government at the time was to bring British Airways to here, and then for Pan Am to carry the rest of the people to North and South America. That was a big time.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like a big turn in our history.
In this segment of the book, focusing on former King Edward, I always believed that Blind Blake deserves an award because he was in the government service. Uh-huh. He wrote that song as a government service.
Oh, yeah?
Right? I think it's an obfuscation.
I've got a quotation of it in here.
Yeah.
The four lines, it was love alone that Edward...
Right, because it was not love alone that caused King Edward. Blind Blake is responding to a statement made.
Yeah.
And he's saying, no, it was love alone that caused King Edward to leave the throne. I don't think that's the truth. I'm going to say that doesn't mean a denigration to Blind Blake. I think he was in the government service. I think he was doing something that either he thought ought to be done or was asked to do to throw our attention in a different direction.
Uh-huh. Could be.
Yeah, but no readings on that, right? Like, because it wasn't love alone that caused King Edward to lose the throne.
Well, it was the fact that the Prime Minister and the Anglican Church, the Archbishop of Canterbury, were dead against it. And it looked as if, well, also it was the rules that the prince couldn't, the prince as he was, couldn't marry a twice divorced widow, a twice divorced woman.
Yeah.
Mr. Lawler, you're one of the premier researchers in the Bahamas in terms of Bahamian history. And because of your research, you mentioned assisting Sir Orville with his book and his research. You now have nuggets in this book, a new history of the Bahamas, right? That no other history book in the Bahamas has.
There's new insights into every chapter.
Listen, there's a chapter. If I could go through some of the chapters, we're going to page 66, chapter 5. Black, colored, slave, and free. After the large influx of loyalists, the increase in the population and the distribution of the loyalists and their slaves is illustrated in the table below, right? Yeah. So they have these tables, and then appendix number 1 is population of the Bahamas in early years. Mm-hmm. And they're going all the way back to 1600s, right?
It's a comprehensive book.
Is from Eleuthera adventurers to independence, and then here it says the Eleutherans adventurers found a colony in Segatu. Where's Segatu?
Segatu is Eleuthera.
That's what I say.
the Awak name for it.
I know I didn't say that. Yeah. They found people in Segatu?
You also mentioned...
They found a colony in Segatu when they got there?
No. They found it.
They founded it.
They founded it, yeah.
I wondered what type of mystery this was. It's exciting. Okay.
I laugh at what you're saying, right? To go completely blank just now, right? Your book shows a making of the Bahamas, right? Yes. It explains Spongin, why Spongin declined.
Yeah.
Explain the Eleutherans adventurers, how they got here. It gives detail about the different groups of Eleutherans adventurers who came here. It then go on to the loyalists, right? Like, if you are a history buff and you want to have one book that explains the entire development of the Bahamas to the current Bahamas from
1647
all the way up to 1973. This book
no
gives
right.
you last year. But tell us how you combine recent history with the past.
How it combined it. It's just that when you go to the archives, these things jump out at you. You know, like it's
reading the bones.
Reading the bones, yeah, reading along the grain. That's a puzzling question.
Yeah. Then I'll ask you this: you mentioned French attacks. Few Bahamians realized that the Bahamas was after the Haitian Revolution. That the Bahamas was basically surrounded by France in terms of attacks and invasions, right? And that
France and Spain,
right?
And then America in 1812.
So long, because their feelings was hurt, Mr. Newry, because Toussaint put out on them.
And there's few Bahamian history books that would actually reference that. Right, so I was appreciative that your book referenced this history. That a person like me who had a history buff would say, "Oh, I didn't even know that the attacks from France was so eminent, right? Especially regarding Haiti and the complete blockade of the Bahamas."
Well, you know, there was a plan. France and America were joint partners from the Revolution's time right through. And there was a plan for France and America joint to take the Bahamas and then go down and take the rest of the Caribbean. There was a plan to do that.
Did you know that, Aaron?
I mean, that's how they go.
That's how they go. That's how the people go.
And if you of that time in Toussaint and the Revolution, and that's how they go. That's the type of strategy, and that's why the moment is so important, because the Haitian revolutionaries outwitted, right? Not just Britain's finest military strategists, not just France's finest military strategists, but all of them, and he played them against each other. Mm-hmm. And so this idea that they would start with the Bahamas and move down, I want you to know that I think that is still reflected in modern day foreign policy and geopolitical strategy.
I mean, from the Monroe time,
Monroe Doctrine
in the 1820s, America wanted to expand. But actually, that was positive for the Bahamas, because the most what people don't realize now, the most important part of the Bahamas are the channels through the Bahamas, because the channels through the Bahamas carry trade from the eastern ports, from Europe, from everywhere, through to the Gulf, to New Orleans and South America, Central America and everything. So the channels through the Bahamas are very, very important for pirates, for privateers.
And this is why
wrecking.
This is why it's so, I would say, prominent. It still resonates, right? We literally the gateway to the New World.
My daughter Lisa has written a book. It's not published yet, but it's the maritime highway through the Bahamas, and wrecking the archives, like an idea of how you're going to use the archives. And by the way, I've come to the conclusion that people researching the archives are actually just researching one biased view. Because like how newspapers nowadays, in the media, but you know that the news is all crime and this and bad things happening and everything, and very little on the good humanitarian things. And so the archives carry all the problems and the situations that were going on from time immemorial. I mean, if you read like the treatment of black people, you'd think, oh man, it was all beatings and this and that and that. But that's because they came to light. The
other stories didn't come to light.
Sir James Carmichael Smith, the governor, 1829, 1833, he was helping the black people, particularly the liberated Africans. And Charles Poitier, who laid out Carmichael and Grantstown, he praised the slaves and said, well, be decent people.
And forgive me for interrupting, but few Bahamians even familiar with Charles Poitier and that as a slave owner, because we have a different narrative because of miscommunication of how did the Poitiers came here. But there was a Anglo Charles Poitier who lived in the Bahamas.
He was born. There's two instances. That one says he's born in Jamaica, one says he's born in Barbados. He came here like as an army captain, but then they made him collector of customs. And as collector of customs, he was in charge of the liberated Africans who came.
Mr. Lawler, since we was talking music earlier, do you know why they couldn't find Jerry Roque in town? And
He's going to Freeport.
Well, no, they say if you can't find him in Nassau, they're in Freeport or they're in jail.
Yeah.
But do you have any writing on the shift of economic power or economic activity in the Bahamas? Like I know I'm HHT, Hannah Hasty Times. Auckland is our motherland, right? That's our homeland. And those southern islands used to be the center of economic activity. And so I think that's something to do with how come they couldn't find Jerry Roque in town.
Yeah, well, the thing is that up to the 1890s, from the Loyalist, I mean, the other islands, the only islands inhabited until the Loyalists came were New Providence, Eleuthera, and Harbour Island.
Okay.
And then when the Loyalists came, they took the lands
further south
for the cotton. And so before 1890s, the 80% of the population lived in the out islands and only 20% in the Bahamas. But by the late 1930s, it was the other way, 80% in Nassau,
New Providence, yeah,
and 20% in the islands. And that's how the islands deteriorated.
The shift.
So right now, what is your favorite chapter, or the chapter you say, if you just purchase this book, you need to read this particular chapter. This is that important. This is that significant. What chapter would you say?
Let me read them off. The Eleutherian adventurers found a colony in Segatu. Early days. The Bahamas, a nest of pirates. The struggles to grow the town of Nassau in the 18th century. I think that could be a good one. Looking at all the conversations we have in today about urban planning and location of foreign direct investment. Okay, next one, Black, Colored, Slave, and Free. Chapter 6, the history of the Christian religion in the Bahamas. 7, the marine economy. 8, tending the land. 9, migration. 10, the Bahamas prior and during World War II. 11, the Burma Road riot. The murder of Sahari Oaks. Tourism, banking in the Bahamas, political history, independence, creating a new national identity.
10 in appendices.
And then the appendices. Can I read them out loud, or are we going to keep them? They interesting.
No, keep read them.
Okay, so for the appendices, population of the Bahamas in the early years. Like I said, that one, I'm going to take us right there, right now, page 2 something. This is a nice book. Starting in the year 1656, there was nobody in the Island. Eleuthera had 60 people. reference is Miller, page 41. So it has the reference for the information in the chart as well. By 1685, there were 100 men, 200 women and children in New Providence. No one registered on other islands. Fantastic. Next appendices, Pierce's pardon. Who's Pierce? Why y'all pardon him?
No, Captain Vincent Pierce.
Okay.
Because we had a pirate
Republic?
Republic, yeah. I was trying to think of Republic. But actually, it wasn't not only pirates who were raiding ships and everything like that. There was also another problem because in 1715 there had been a revolution called the Jacobite Revolution, where they were trying to put King James on the throne, the Scottish King James, and there was this big, strong expelling of people from the UK to the Caribbean country. And many of the pirates were Jacobites.
Okay.
Charles Vane was a Jacobite. And so they were worried that the Bahamas would become a Jacobite stronghold.
Okay.
And so the king issued a pardon to all pirates. It was a twofold attack. A pardon to all pirates and a royal governor, Woodes Rogers, who came. Now, people think that Rogers pardoned the pirates, but Captain Pierce, he was a Royal Navy pirate chaser issued from New York. And he came down with a pardon. And Benjamin Hornigold persuaded all... Hornigold was a main pirate, not Blackbeard.
Okay.
Hornigold got his fleet, he's like an admiral of a fleet. He got everybody. So there was like 200 odd pirates who took a pardon before Woodes Rogers came.
Mm-hmm.
And then Woodes Rogers pardoned many.
Wow.
So that list,
Yeah.
and on that list, there's some pirates who actually stayed in Nassau. And there was actually, previous to that, when Henry Avery was here, parked moored in Rhode Island, who had robbed the fleet in the Indian Ocean, many of his pirates stayed in the Bahamas too. So that's
the pirate lists have a number of what we call Bahamian surnames, like Lowe and Thompson and Smith and Jones.
Right.
Where you can identify.
Darville was a...
Darville was mentioned that early as a pirate? I didn't know.
Is it McCarthy, Charlton, Barry, Sinclair, Rawlings, Connolly, Richards, Johnson? Miss Mins, Mr. Newry, you could imagine that you just is a pirate hacker. Like, you ain't a real pirate. You just is a pirate hacker. And all of a sudden you hacking and you trying to, you just want to rob a little skiff. You ain't into no big thing. And the pirate, what do you call him? The pirate chaser?
Pirate chaser.
The royal pirate chaser lock in on you?
Mrs. Lola, I would also mention that and there isn't any narrative about black pirates in the Bahamas. I want to know if you mentioned anything about black, because they say Blackbeard free all kinds of slaves and they've joined the pirate stuff.
That was a difficulty I had when I was writing the Black, Coloured and Free chapter, is that there's sort of indications that there was black pirates, but no kind of definite thing. And then also runaway slaves found the Bahamas easy to get to, but no record. Like the period, I got a lady in England who trying to write a dissertation on Nassau at the time of pirates and asking for my help. And there's very little information from 1800 to 1718 when Woodes Rogers came.
Because I imagine, you didn't really tell, it's like Fight Club, you don't really talk about it. You don't really tell, yes, I was a pirate. You don't put that on the form.
The people who was writing the record didn't regard them important enough to write about.
That's probably also a why.
Yeah. But let's talk about black, colored, slaves, and free. Are they different things?
Well,
the black and colored isn't the same thing?
Yeah, well, there was people who were black and then they mixed with the white and became colored. Actually, the interesting thing is that although we've got very little record until 6 ships after Rogers, 1718 to 1720 one or so. The main ship that came was the Bahamas galley with 295 slaves from the Gold Coast with a can of shanty. Now, the can of shanty are very, very interesting people because they're the basis of our Creole language, the first black. And you know, in linguistics, the Creole is English words, or the words of the European, English words with an African grammar. And so the a can of shanty is the basis, earliest basis of the Creole language. My wife was a linguist, so I know. And the interesting thing about the can of shanty was that their language was Twi, and they had these drums, and there were like notes on the drums that constituted languages and phrases, and so they could converse with each other like the distance of 200 miles with the relay. And the other thing about them is that they had this, the robes and cloths were kente cloth. The colors were meaningful, like, you know, blue for the sky, green for the bed. But the patterns on them were symbols of history, of stories, of everything. So they were like literate in a different kind of way to the European.
I just want to crack a joke, Mr. Newry, so you don't mind me. I'm looking at the alphabetical list of members of the House of Assembly, Executive Council, and Legislative Council from 1861 to 1942. Now, currently, is this the only place in this book, in fact, A New History of the Bahamas, written by the Honorable Jim Lawler? We got people asking where to purchase it already. Is this book the only space where I could find this list?
Yes, I made the list up.
Yeah.
I from research.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
It was when I was working for Sir Orville, and I got to the 1942 election. And I had bits of odds and ends, so I researched and found everybody. Those are the years I could find.
Yes.
Obviously, I would have later gone before and after, but it wasn't available.
Wow.
Recently, there was a big write-up. I see we have a caller coming in now. There was a big write-up on A.F. Adley and being like the first, what you call it, educated black Bahamian going off to school in this university in England. And you give a history, a narrative of A.F. Adley. Usually it's going to just be a paragraph in Bahamian history. You like have a whole chapter of him doing trials. How important was it to bring to life various names? Because it's several names you mentioned throughout the book of various Bahamians or people living inside the Bahamas, right? To give this book life. Why did you decide to give a full narrative of various people?
Well, the Adderley family is very, very interesting because I don't know if you know, a few years back about the first Bahamian millionaire was Henry Adderley. You know, Henry Adderley is kind of related, in a sense, to the Adderley family. Actually, the first Adderley was Abraham Adderley, who was here. He was one of the Lutheran adventurers.
Okay.
The very first one. And another Abraham, one of his descendants, Abraham Adderley, was a loyalist who came and was granted land on Long Island. I think it was Long Island. Yeah, Long Island. And then Henry Adderley, the son, came and was the auctioneer at the Vendu House.
Oh, wow. Okay, obviously, part 2 of this conversation will be scheduled shortly. Where can we find the book, Mr. Lawler?
Well, I sell them from home, from my porch, number 7 Buen Retiro. My number is 325-3157. They're at the Bahamas Historical Museum on Shirley Street.
Give your number again, again, please.
325-3157.
Right. The Bahamas Historical Society at the event this evening, people can purchase a book?
Yes.
Absolutely. And can we call the Historical Society to make arrangements to purchase books?
Yes.
Okay.
How much is the book?
It's I'm selling it for $70. I'll give 10 to the society tonight.
Okay.
Out of the book, yeah.
It's worth it. For $70, it is worth it. It's a nice, easy read, but lots of information.
Detailed information.
Tons of information. I am just going through, again, the chapters list. These prizes captured in Spanish War, privateers 1778 to 1780. And 1782, prizes 1793, Seminole settlers at Red Bays.
I'm supposed to go in detail about that.
Bahamians at Panama, that's your people.
Yeah, you're supposed to go in detail about the Seminoles and how they get here, the black Seminoles. Go ahead.
And a list of Bahamian hotels.
Okay.
It is an excellent read.
Yeah, and also Bahamians moving to Panama and building the Panama Canal. Yeah. All that inside this one book. Yeah.
And then the next time you come, so I have to ask you if you have any documentation of my family and Andres selling Chickchanis and other ghost-like things to tourists.
Well, you might actually be descended from Mesquite Indian.
I ain't upset.
Nobody knows about the Mesquite Indians that went to Andros.
I ain't upset at all.
We need to come back and talk about that, Mr. Lola. This has been the Honorable Jim Lola. He's having his reading tonight and his presentation at the Bahamas Historical Museum at what time?
6:30.
6:30 tonight. 6:30 tonight. That's on Shirley Street. And you're able to buy his book at the same time as he does his presentation. It goes in detail of Bahamian families, Bahamian history, the complete narrative of the Bahamas starting all the way to 1973. Then, of course, modern times up to, what year? 2020?
Last year.
2024.
It was written and sent in September last year. So
Yes.
that's right.
This has been Guardian Radio A.M.
Also can get it back. You can get it at Dunkirk Art Studios.
On Village Road, number 20 Village Road.
Yeah. And Media Enterprises on Shirley Park.
Good. Okay.
All right.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Okay.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, streaming on GuardianTalkRadio.com and the Guardian Radio app, Nassau, Bahamas.